If you don't break your bad habits will break you. That's the truth. That's the reality. You can't rise while dragging the same behaviors that keep pulling you down. And every day you delay fixing them, they grow stronger. Not in big ways, but in the little choices you keep repeating. You skip something small, you give in just once. You tell yourself you'll stop tomorrow. And slowly your standards drop. You start feeling stuck, unmotivated, and disconnected from the person you want to be. The title is not just a warning, it's a call to action. 5 ways to break bad habits before they break you. These aren't theories, these are hard truths. Real steps, things that work when you're serious about change. No fluff, no hype, just direct, effective strategies to take your power back. If you're ready to stop making excuses and start building the life you actually want, then keep watching. Because today is not about watching another video. It's about ending the cycle for good. Number 1, look yourself in the mirror and stop pretending. That's where change begins. Not with motivation, not with hype, not with someone else telling you what to do, but with honesty. Brutal honesty. The kind that makes you uncomfortable. The kind that forces you to face what you've been avoiding. When you stand in front of that mirror, it's just you, nobody else. No audience to impress, no mask to wear, no one to lie to. And that's where the truth becomes powerful. Because for once, you can't escape it. You can't hide behind distractions. You can't scroll past it. You can't numb it with another excuse. If you want to break your bad habits, the first thing you must do is stop pretending they don't exist. Stop calling them small or harmless or just a phase. Stop pretending they're not affecting your life, because they are. Every day you avoid the truth, those habits grow. They take up space in your mind. They steal your energy. They eat away at your self-respect. And slowly they turn you into someone you don't even recognize. Now, you may not admit it out loud, but deep down you know what those habits are. You know the choices you keep repeating. You know what's hurting you. It could be staying up late and wasting your mornings. It could be overeating and ignoring your health. It could be procrastinating when you know time is running out. It could be watching things that drain your brain instead of feeding your future. Whatever it is, stop minimizing it, stop brushing it off, and stop pretending that you have it under control, because if you did, you wouldn't feel this frustration in your gut right now. You have to decide what kind of life you want, and you won't get there until you stop pretending to be okay with the one you're settling for. Habits don't just affect your time, they affect your confidence. They shape your identity. And the more you keep repeating them, the more you start believing that you can't change, that this is just who you are. That's dangerous. That's how people stay stuck for years, not because they don't have potential, but because they refuse to confront the pattern. You see, the mirror is not your enemy. It's your reality check. It's the place where you can start telling the truth quietly, privately, and clearly. Stand there and ask yourself, am I really proud of the way I've been living? Not how you act in front of others, not how good your intentions are, but what you're actually doing when no one is watching. If the answer is no, don't walk away. Stay there. Feel it. Let that truth sink in, because pain is useful when it wakes you up. Pain is necessary when it makes you want better. Don't run from it. Use it. Let it drive you to a new standard, a better standard, one that you set for yourself, one that says, this is not the life I'm going to continue living. The hardest part is facing your role in it. You created the habit. You allowed it. You kept repeating it. That might feel harsh, but it's also freeing, because if you created it, you can break it. You are not powerless. You are not stuck. You just have to stop telling yourself the same lies that keep you numb. It's not a big deal. I'll stop next week. Other people are worse. That's the voice of your weaker self talking. That's the version of you that wants to stay comfortable. That's the version you need to outgrow. You need to tell yourself the truth and decide that today is the last day you lie to yourself about it. It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest. Because real growth doesn't come from hiding. It comes from exposure. It comes from saying, this is what I've been doing, and this is what I'm going to change. Start simple. Start small. But start now. Make a decision that you will no longer wake up and pretend you're fine when you're not. You're tired for a reason. You're disappointed for a reason. You feel stuck for a reason. That reason is not outside of you. It's in your choices. And those choices can change, starting with the way you think, the way you speak to yourself, and the way you act the moment the habit shows up. The truth is, nobody's coming to save you from your bad habits. No one is going to show up and break them for you. If you don't step up, they will break you, slowly, quietly, until one day you look around and realize you've become someone you don't respect. And that hurts more than any hard truth ever could. This is your life, and the most dangerous thing you can do is act like your actions don't matter, because they do. Every time you give in to that habit, you strengthen it. You reinforce the belief that you can't do better. But every time you choose to break it, even if it's just one time, you start building something new, something stronger, something that belongs to the person you actually want to become. That person isn't built on comfort. That person is built on choices, real ones, hard ones. And that begins when you stop lying to yourself. So look in that mirror and face it, all of it. Say what you've been avoiding. Admit the habit that's been stealing your discipline, and then decide what you're going to do about it. You don't need to wait for rock bottom. You don't need a life crisis to wake up. You just need to get tired of pretending, because pretending might protect your pride for now, but it costs you your future, and that's a price you shouldn't keep paying. So today, right now, stand up, walk to the mirror, and get honest. Be the one who breaks the habit before it breaks you. Be the one who says, enough is enough. That's how change starts. Not someday, not next week, but the moment you stop lying to yourself. That's real power. That's real growth. That's the beginning of your real life. Number 2, choose who you want to be every morning. Every day starts with one decision that shapes everything else. Who do you choose to be today? Before the world places its noise in your mind, before the distractions pull you away, before the habits kick in without thinking, you have a chance to choose, and most people skip that part. They wake up and fall right back into autopilot. Same thoughts, same mood, same choices, and then they wonder why nothing ever changes. But if you want to break the patterns that are holding you back, you have to start where the day begins, with your identity. Every morning you need to make a clear decision about who you're going to be, not based on how you feel, not based on what happened yesterday, but based on who you want to become. Because without that decision, you don't live with direction, you react. And when you're always reacting, you become a slave to your past. You keep playing out the same version of yourself. You keep responding the same way to problems. You keep repeating the same bad habits. That's how time passes without growth. That's how years go by and nothing inside changes. But when you wake up and actively choose your identity, you stop living by default. You start building a version of yourself that you actually respect. Think about it. How many times have you started the day already stressed, already behind, already irritated with life? That's not because the world is unfair. That's because there was no reset. You never claimed the day for yourself. You never stopped and asked, who do I need to be today? And that's what powerful people do. They don't leave their identity to chance. They set it with intention. Now that doesn't mean you'll feel motivated every morning. You won't. Some mornings you'll feel tired. Some mornings you'll want to fall back into what's easy. But that's the test. Are you going to live based on how you feel, or are you going to live based on what you've decided? Discipline means choosing the version of you that builds the future you want, even when it's not comfortable. And it's simple. You don't need anything special to do this. You just need a quiet moment before you check your phone, before the noise of life pulls you into 10 different directions. Take that moment and ask yourself, what kind of person do I need to be today? Not 10 years from now, not someday, but today. Because today is all you have to influence, and what you choose today will either push you closer or pull you further from the person you say you want to be. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. This is about becoming someone you've always known you could be. Someone who shows up. Someone who takes care of their mind and body. Someone who doesn't let laziness win. Someone who speaks with clarity. Someone who finishes what they start. That version of you already exists, but you have to choose it. And that choice is mental. It starts with clarity. If you don't define who you want to be, the world will define it for you. You'll be shaped by whatever's loudest: social media, stress, opinions, pressure. But when you make the decision for yourself, when you set your own tone, you create a boundary. You remind yourself, I'm not going to live like a victim. I'm not going to drift. I'm here to grow, and I choose how I show up. That's how leaders think. That's how winners live. They take control of their identity before the world tries to control it for them. And they do it daily. Not once, not occasionally, but every single morning. Maybe you've never done that before. Maybe your mornings are just chaos, and you go straight into the day reacting. But that can change right now. You don't need a big plan. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to take 2 minutes every morning and ask, what version of me is going to show up today? And then live by that answer. Write it down if you need to. Say it out loud. Lock it into your brain, and don't let your emotions or excuses talk you out of it once the day gets hard. Because it will get hard. There will be pressure. There will be setbacks. But when you've already chosen your identity for the day, you won't fold the same way. You'll remind yourself who you said you were going to be, and you'll act from that. You see, habits are born from repetition, so is strength. The more often you choose to live with intention, the more natural it becomes. You'll notice yourself being less reactive, less triggered, more focused, more grounded. That's the reward for choosing your identity every morning. You don't just feel better, you start acting like the person you respect. And that's the goal, isn't it? To look in the mirror at the end of the day and feel proud of how you handled yourself. Proud of your effort, proud of your decisions, proud of how you held the line. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because in the morning you said, "This is who I'm going to be today." And you lived like it. No one else can do this part for you. You can get advice. You can watch motivational content. But the decision still belongs to you. Every day, you either choose to be stronger than yesterday, or you repeat the version of you that keeps losing time. That's the truth. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you take back control. So tomorrow morning, don't rush into the day blindly. Pause, get quiet, ask yourself the hard question. Not what do you have to do, but who do you have to be? Who is the version of you that stays disciplined, that doesn't need approval, that keeps promises to themselves? Choose that person, and then become them. Through your choices, your attitude, your habits, your tone. It's not complicated, but it takes courage. Courage to let go of who you were. Courage to not be controlled by your moods. Courage to build a version of yourself that demands respect. And you do that one day at a time, one decision at a time, one morning at a time. So don't waste your mornings anymore. They're not just the beginning of your day, they're the beginning of your identity. And your identity decides everything. How you act, how you think, how you speak, how you lead, how you grow. Start tomorrow differently. Don't wake up and drift. Wake up and choose. And choose the version of you that leads your life forward, not backward, not sideways, forward. Because that's where your future is. And it starts with a decision. Make it count. Number 3, feel the guilt and use it to change now. Guilt is not your enemy. It's a message, a signal, a voice inside that says you've been doing something you know isn't right for you. And instead of running from it, hiding from it, or pretending it's not there, you need to face it and use it. Because guilt only becomes destructive when you ignore it. But when you confront it, when you really sit with it and feel what it's trying to tell you, it can change your life. The problem is most people try to escape guilt as fast as possible. They distract themselves, blame others, or tell themselves it doesn't matter. But deep down it does. That heavy feeling you try to avoid, that's your conscience reminding you that you're meant for more. You feel guilty because you broke a promise to yourself. You didn't follow through. You made a choice that didn't align with who you want to be. And that's where change starts. Not from pretending it didn't happen, but from admitting that it did. You've got to stop pushing the feeling down and start pulling the lesson out. Because if you ignore guilt long enough, it doesn't go away. It hardens. It turns into shame. It eats at your confidence. It makes you feel like change isn't possible. That's why so many people stay stuck. Not because they don't want to improve, but because they carry guilt that they've never dealt with. But here's what most people don't realize. Guilt is proof that you still care. If you didn't feel it, it would mean you've given up on yourself. But you haven't. You still feel that sting when you break your word, that tight feeling in your chest when you know you messed up. That's not weakness, that's awareness. That's your mind and heart saying, you know better. And that's powerful, because if you know better, you can do better. But only if you stop using guilt as a reason to beat yourself up and start using it as a reason to change direction. Think about the last time you felt it. Maybe you said something you shouldn't have. Maybe you wasted another day. Maybe you let yourself down again with the same bad habit. The feeling that followed? That's your internal compass telling you that something needs to shift. And if you want to grow, you can't keep brushing that off. You have to use that feeling. Let it push you toward the standard you know you're capable of. It's easy to try to avoid guilt. It's easy to numb it with distractions, food, entertainment, scrolling, noise. But none of that gets rid of it. It just delays it. And the longer you delay it, the heavier it becomes. You carry it with you into every conversation, every goal, every morning. That's why some people walk around feeling tired all the time. It's not their schedule, it's their mind. It's the weight of what they haven't faced. So how do you use guilt instead of letting it control you? First, you stop running from it. You face the action. You look directly at what you did or didn't do. You say it without sugarcoating. I didn't show up when I said I would. I gave in to something I said I was done with. I acted like someone I don't want to be. That's where the power starts. Because once you've said it clearly, without excuses, you take back the authority over your next step. Second, you connect the guilt to the standard you want to live by. You remind yourself, I feel this way because I want to be better. You don't just say, I messed up. You say, I messed up and I'm not okay with that. I expect more from myself. That mindset is the difference between staying in the cycle and breaking free from it. People who change are people who stop justifying their weakness. They use guilt as fuel, not as a reason to give up. Then you act. You don't sit in guilt. You don't wallow in it. You do something with it. You fix what you can. You apologize if you need to. You show up better the next day. You reset your actions with stronger effort. Because guilt without action turns into regret. But guilt with action turns into growth. And that's the goal: to grow. Not to be perfect. Not to erase your past. But to use every part of it to become more disciplined, more honest, more in control. You can't keep giving yourself a pass and then wondering why you feel stuck. You know exactly what you're doing that's keeping you in the same loop. You're aware of the behavior. That's why you feel the guilt. And the only way to stop feeling it is to stop doing the thing that causes it. Change your actions, and guilt has no reason to stay. Keep repeating the same pattern, and the guilt turns into something much worse: self-doubt. But you can interrupt that cycle right now. It starts with responsibility. It starts with saying, yes, I did that, but I won't let that be the end of my story. That's ownership, and ownership is rare. Most people point fingers. Most people pretend. But the ones who rise, the ones who transform, they're the ones who take guilt seriously, not as punishment, as guidance. You've got to want change more than you want comfort. You've got to be willing to face the part of you that disappoints yourself and not turn away. Because only when you feel the full weight of your choices can you decide to carry something better. That means doing things differently. That means holding yourself to a new level of effort. That means no more excuses, no more waiting, no more convincing yourself that you'll fix it later. Later turns into never, but now turns into progress. Now is the only time you can act. And if guilt brought you to this moment, good. That means it worked. That means the signal reached you. Now respond. Show yourself what it means to rise above it. Show yourself what happens when you face your behavior and choose to change. You don't need anyone else's permission. You don't need someone to tell you it's okay. You don't need to carry the past forever. You just need to be real about what's been holding you back and step into the version of you who's done being dragged by the same habits. You're not weak for feeling guilty. You're strong for wanting to make it right. You're strong for still caring about your growth. But strength without action fades, and you've got a window right now, a chance to do something different. Take it. Use the guilt. Let it move you. Let it sharpen your awareness. Let it push you to break the cycle that's kept you average. This is where it begins. Not with hype, not with comfort, but with truth. Raw, honest truth. You know where you've fallen short. Now use it. Take control. Move forward and become someone you're proud to live with. Number 4. Sit in the discomfort instead of escaping again. Most people never grow because they never stay long enough in discomfort to allow the change to happen. The second it gets hard, they reach for something. Distractions, food, scrolling, someone to blame. They search for any way out of the feeling. But the truth is, if you always run the moment it hurts, you'll stay the same for the rest of your life. Change is not born in comfort. Growth doesn't happen when things feel easy. It happens when you sit in that discomfort and decide you're not going to escape this time. There's a moment we all face. That moment when you feel the urge to go back to what's easy. The familiar pattern calls you. The quick relief whispers to you. And in that moment, you have to decide what kind of person you're going to be. Will you be the one who runs again? Or will you be the one who stays with it, feels it, and works through it? That's where character is built. That's where transformation begins. You need to stop looking for ways to numb the discomfort. Stop searching for shortcuts that don't exist. There's a reason you feel uncomfortable, because you're doing something unfamiliar. Because you're finally facing what you've avoided. Because your body and mind are not used to discipline, to truth, to effort, without escape. And the only way to build tolerance for discomfort is to stay in it. Let it sharpen you, let it teach you. You can't grow without it. That uncomfortable feeling you're running from is the exact thing you need to face. It's not there to punish you. It's there to prepare you. It's the signal that you're in the middle of becoming someone better. But that only happens if you stop looking for a way out and start looking for what it's trying to teach you. Every time you escape, you reset the process. Every time you give in, you strengthen the part of you that wants to stay weak. You may feel temporary relief, but it comes at a cost. Your discipline, your self-respect, your time. That's the trade you're making every time you run. You get to avoid the hard part, but you also avoid the reward that comes on the other side of it. There are people who spend years avoiding what they should have sat with for a few uncomfortable minutes. They hide behind comfort and then wonder why nothing in their life feels meaningful. It's because they never stuck around long enough to earn meaning. They escape the pressure and miss the growth. That doesn't have to be your story. You can break that cycle. The next time discomfort shows up, don't fight it. Don't distract yourself. Don't tell yourself you'll deal with it later. Sit with it. Breathe through it. Stay present with attention. It won't last forever. But the strength you build from staying in it, that lasts. That sticks with you. That becomes your new foundation. Because the more you sit in discomfort, the more it loses its power over you. It no longer becomes something to fear. It becomes something you can handle. And here's the truth. Most people never hear. Discomfort is not the enemy. Escaping it is. Because when you escape, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle difficulty. But when you stay, You prove to yourself that you're stronger than your impulses. You build mental muscle. You start showing yourself that pain doesn't have to control you. That's how confidence is built, not by winning every time, but by staying present when it's hard. This is not about being tough for show. It's not about pretending the discomfort isn't there. It's about being real with it, saying, yes, this is hard. Yes, I feel it. And no, I'm not going to run from it. That kind of honesty makes you unshakable, because when you stop fearing discomfort, you become capable of doing what most people avoid. Think about the people you respect, the ones who have self-control, the ones who've changed their lives, the ones who move forward while everyone else stays stuck. Do you think they never felt discomfort? Of course they did, but they stayed with it. They didn't use it as an excuse. They used it as a sign they were doing something right. That's how they got stronger. That's how they moved ahead. And now it's your turn. You've got to stop reaching for comfort every time the pressure rises. You've got to learn to feel the discomfort and not panic, to let it pass through you without letting it control your next move. Because the habit of escaping doesn't go away on its own. You have to replace it with something stronger, a new way of thinking, a new way of acting. Start now. The next time you want to avoid the feeling, pause, sit still, feel it in your chest, your stomach, your mind. Notice how fast your thoughts try to convince you to run. Notice how quickly your emotions try to shift. Don't judge it. Just see it for what it is, and then choose differently. Stay with the feeling. Let it do its work. Let it make you more resilient. Let it build your tolerance for the hard things that life will continue to throw at you. Because life will not stop being hard. The world won't become easier just because you want it to. But you can become stronger. And that starts by facing what you've been avoiding. That starts by sitting in the discomfort instead of reaching for another escape. You've escaped long enough. You've numbed yourself for too many years. It's time to stop running. It's time to stay. The reward is not instant, but it's real. You'll start trusting yourself more. You'll stop doubting your ability to handle what comes. You'll build the kind of strength that doesn't need outside approval. That kind of strength is built in silence. In those quiet moments when you want to quit, and you don't. When you want to run, and you stay. That's when everything changes. Not with some big motivational speech, but with your decision to feel the discomfort and not turn away. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions. You don't need a new routine. You need one moment of courage, one moment of stillness, one moment where you say, I'm not escaping this time. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to come out stronger. That's how you reclaim control of your life. That's how you break free from the habits that weaken you. And that's how you grow into someone who doesn't run from pressure, but uses it to become powerful. The discomfort you feel today is shaping who you'll be tomorrow. Stay in it. You're stronger than you think. Number 5, ask yourself why you keep doing this again. If you want to break the cycle you're stuck in, you have to start asking better questions. And the most important one is simple. Why do you keep doing this again? Not in a way that blames you, not in a way that shames you, but in a way that's real, a way that demands honesty. Most people never ask that. They focus on what they're doing wrong, but never dig deep enough to understand why it keeps happening. And until you face that question, nothing changes. You'll keep repeating the same behavior, making the same choices, falling into the same pattern, and wondering why life feels like it's standing still. You're not lazy by nature. You're not broken, but you are repeating something. There's a reason behind it, a trigger, a thought, a belief, a memory, a fear. And if you don't stop and ask where it's coming from, you'll keep feeding it without knowing. Every time you go back to that habit, that escape, that loop, you're following something that feels familiar. Even if it hurts, even if you hate it, you follow it because it's what your mind has accepted as normal. That's what makes bad habits so hard to break. It's not just what you're doing, it's what you've attached to it emotionally. Maybe you keep procrastinating because deep down you're afraid to fail. Maybe you stay distracted because you're scared to be alone with your thoughts. Maybe you give in to the same weakness because it makes you feel in control, even when it's ruining your progress. Until you ask yourself why you keep going back, you'll stay stuck in surface-level fixes. And surface-level fixes don't create real change. They don't last. Because you're not solving the problem, you're just avoiding it with more discipline, more pressure, more noise. But what you need is clarity. The kind of clarity that comes from looking inward, not outward. From sitting down and being brutally honest about your own patterns. What are you chasing when you go back to that habit? What are you trying to escape? What story are you telling yourself that gives you permission to do it again? Until you know, you'll keep trying to fix symptoms instead of dealing with the root. The truth is, most people never pause long enough to understand their own behavior. They just react. They mess up, feel bad, promise to change, and do it again. And again. That's not transformation, that's repetition. And repetition without awareness leads to frustration. That's when you start telling yourself, maybe I'm just not strong enough. But it's not strength you lack, it's insight. You're trying to fight something you haven't taken the time to understand, and you can't beat what you refuse to look at directly. So stop rushing to fix it. Sit down and ask yourself the hard question. Why do you keep doing this? And don't accept the first answer. Keep digging. Ask it again and again until you hit something that stings, because that's where the truth is. It's not comfortable, it's not easy, but it's necessary. That's how real change happens, not from motivation, but from clarity. When you see the pattern for what it really is, you can start interrupting it. But as long as you avoid it, it runs your life. It might come from childhood, from fear of not being enough, from a belief that you're not worthy of success, from a voice that told you years ago that you always mess things up, and now that belief has shaped your actions, even if you're not aware of it. That's why you have to look closer. That's why you have to go deeper, not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Because when you understand, you get leverage, you get power, you see the wiring, and you realize it can be changed. This is about taking responsibility, not taking blame. Blame says it's your fault. Responsibility says it's your move. You don't have to stay locked in the same pattern just because it's been there for years, but you do have to be honest enough to explore it. Stop asking shallow questions like, why am I so lazy? Or why can't I just stop? Those questions don't lead anywhere. Ask, what am I avoiding when I do this? Ask, what do I believe about myself that makes this okay? Ask, when did I first learn to escape this way? That's where the breakthrough is. Once you get an answer, don't run from it. Write it down, speak it out loud, make it real. Because when you expose the reason, you remove its control. It can't hide in the background anymore. And once it's in the light, you can challenge it. You can say, I see what you've been doing to me. I see how you've kept me small. I see how you've made me waste time, confidence, and opportunity. And I'm not going to let you keep doing that. That's how the cycle breaks. Not through force, but through truth. When you catch the lie you've been believing, you can replace it with something real, something that actually serves your growth. You might realize that every time you feel overwhelmed, you go back to comfort, or that every time something starts to work, you sabotage it because success feels unfamiliar. Or maybe you hold on to failure because it gives you a reason to not try again. These are not flaws, these are patterns, and patterns can be changed, but you can't change what you haven't studied. Start becoming a student of your own behavior. Watch yourself. Pay attention. Ask, what am I thinking right before I give in? What emotion is rising when I go backward? What do I gain from this even if it hurts me later? These questions are not about perfection. They're about progress. They're about pulling yourself out of autopilot and back into ownership. You'll never change what you keep avoiding. You'll never grow past what you keep repeating without reflection. But if you're willing to ask why, if you're willing to feel uncomfortable and stay curious, you will begin to separate from the identity that keeps pulling you down. You'll stop reacting the same way. You'll stop falling for the same triggers. You'll start seeing the gap between stimulus and response, and that's where your power lives. This is what most people don't do. They don't ask. They don't dig. They just try harder. And trying harder without understanding leads to burnout, not breakthrough. But you're not here to burn out. You're here to rise. You're here to evolve, and that starts with the courage to ask yourself what you've been afraid to face. There's nothing wrong with you for repeating the pattern. What matters is what you do now. Will you keep numbing it, denying it, avoiding it, or will you ask the question and finally listen to the answer? That's the moment everything can change. When you stop blaming the habit and start confronting the reason behind it. So ask yourself, why do you keep doing this again? And when the answer shows up, don't flinch. Sit with it. Learn from it. Use it to choose a new path. Because once you know the truth, you never have to go back to the lie. Number 6, get angry at the damage it's causing daily. There comes a point where being calm and understanding with yourself is no longer useful. When you've told yourself for the 100th time, I'll stop tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. When you've convinced yourself it's not that bad, but deep down you know it's costing you your focus, your confidence, your momentum, and your future. That's when you need something stronger than logic. That's when you need to get angry, not at other people, not at life, but at the damage this habit is causing you every single day. Because until you feel it deeply, until you let yourself get bothered enough, you won't make the decision to end it. You'll keep managing it. You'll keep tolerating it. And whatever you tolerate will keep growing. There is damage being done even if it's silent. The habit you're holding on to isn't harmless. It's stealing your energy. It's draining your motivation. It's keeping you locked in the same version of yourself. It's making your life harder than it needs to be. And the more you try to downplay it, the more control it has over you. You've got to stop saying, it's not a big deal. If it wasn't, you wouldn't feel stuck. You wouldn't feel disappointed every time you give into it again. It is a big deal. And the moment you finally admit that is the moment you start to take your power back. You need to stop being polite about it. Stop being neutral. Stop trying to make peace with something that's working against you. That habit doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about your peace of mind. It's not on your side. So why are you defending it? Why are you letting it stay in your life without a fight? You've given it time. You've given it space. You've given it enough chances. And what has it given you in return? Frustration, guilt, delay. You have every right to be angry about that. Anger, when used right, is fuel. It's not about yelling or breaking things. It's about waking up to the truth that something in your life is taking more from you than it's giving. That fire in your chest when you realize how much time you've lost, use it. That frustration when you see your potential getting buried under the same mistake over and over, use it. Don't run from the emotion. Let it guide you to a new decision. Most people try to stay calm all the time. They want to stay balanced, stay soft, stay easygoing. But that's why they stay stuck, because they don't let themselves feel enough to make a real change. They're too afraid of the discomfort. They try to stay positive when what they need is to get serious. You can't heal what you don't confront. And you won't confront anything that you've convinced yourself isn't that bad. You've got to start looking at the cost. What is this habit costing you every day? Not just in results, but in your mindset. How many hours have you wasted doing something that doesn't serve you? How many times have you said, just one more time, and ended up feeling worse than before? How many chances have you missed because you weren't fully present? How many mornings have you started tired and unmotivated because of the same decision the night before? You think it's small, but it's not. You think it's under control, but it's not. Because anything that controls your choices is already winning. It's time to break the pattern. Not with more tips and tricks, but with a decision made from emotion, from truth, from enough pain that you can't pretend anymore. You have to see the habit for what it is, a thief, a quiet, consistent thief that keeps taking from your life every time you let it in. That's not something you should tolerate. That's something you need to fight. You don't get stronger by accepting what weakens you. You get stronger by refusing to allow it any more space. You have to let yourself get uncomfortable enough that change is no longer optional. When you've had enough, you'll move. When the pain gets real enough, you'll stop negotiating. You'll stop giving yourself loopholes. You'll stop saying it's fine for now. It's not fine. It's holding you back. It's limiting who you could become. And if that doesn't make you angry, then you haven't been honest with yourself about the damage it's doing. This isn't about becoming someone new overnight. This is about drawing a line that says, I'm done letting this habit run my life. You don't have to wait for rock bottom. You don't need another failure to prove the point. All you need is a moment of truth, a moment where you say, I see what this is doing to me, and I'm not okay with it anymore. And when that moment comes, you act. You remove the trigger. You change your environment. You say no, even when it's hard. Not because it's easy, but because you're finally done living with the damage. You stop waiting to feel ready, and you start acting like your life matters, because it does. Every day you spend under the weight of that habit is a day you're not becoming who you could be, and you only get so many days. You can't afford to waste them. This is the version of you that fights back, the version that doesn't make peace with patterns that hurt them, the version that stands up and says, not anymore. You don't have to scream it, you just have to mean it. That quiet anger, that focused frustration, that's power. That's what pulls you out of the old routine. That's what makes this time different. Not a new strategy, a new level of urgency. Because when you've really had enough, change isn't a wish anymore. It becomes a necessity. It becomes non-negotiable. You stop needing someone to tell you what to do. You stop needing more motivation. You start moving. You start deciding. You start rebuilding from the inside out. And the habit that once owned you starts losing its grip. Not because it disappeared, but because you stopped feeding it. Let yourself feel the damage. Let yourself be honest about what it's costing you. And then use that emotion to break free. You're not powerless. You've just been too patient with something that's been hurting you. Now is the time to take your life back. Not later. Not next week. Now. Because nothing changes until you get tired of the cycle. Nothing gets better until you stop being okay with what's making you weaker. You've stayed quiet long enough. You've looked away long enough. This is the moment where it ends. Not because someone saved you, but because you finally decided you're not going to lose another day to something that's been quietly destroying your potential. Number 7, face your laziness instead of lying to yourself. Most people don't want to admit when they're being lazy. It's easier to cover it up with excuses, to blame stress or low energy or lack of motivation. But the truth is, deep down, you know when you're avoiding what needs to be done. You know when you're wasting time. You know when you're not doing what you said you would do. And until you face that head on, nothing changes. You'll stay stuck in the same loop. Knowing what to do but not doing it. Telling yourself you'll start tomorrow. Promising yourself you'll do better next week. But you won't, unless you stop lying and call it what it is, laziness. You have to be honest with yourself, not just occasionally, every day. Because laziness doesn't show up wearing a name tag. It disguises itself. It pretends to be self-care. It pretends to be rest. It pretends to be taking a break. But if you're being honest, most of those breaks are just you avoiding effort. It's you delaying what matters. It's you postponing progress. You have to stop sugarcoating it. You're not too busy. You're not too tired. You're just choosing easy over effort. And you've been doing it so long, it feels normal now. That's the problem. Laziness doesn't always feel like laziness. Sometimes it feels like comfort. But comfort becomes a trap when it keeps you from building the life you know you want. The only way to break out of that trap is to look at yourself clearly. Strip away the stories. Stop saying, I'll get to it later. Start asking yourself, why am I not doing this now? What am I running from? What am I afraid of? What am I protecting? Because often, laziness is not just about not wanting to work. It's about not wanting to feel discomfort. It's about not wanting to face failure. But you've got to stop running from those things. You've got to start confronting what you've been hiding behind. You can't grow while lying to yourself. And the biggest lie most people live with is pretending they're trying when they're not. They say they want success, but they don't show up for it. They say they're working hard, but they're distracted every 5 minutes. They say they're tired, but they've got hours for entertainment. You don't need more time. You need more honesty, more self-awareness, more courage to say, I've been lazy, and I need to change that. Laziness doesn't go away on its own. You can't hope it'll disappear one morning. You have to confront it directly. You have to interrupt the pattern. You have to call yourself out when you notice it. Not with guilt or shame, but with truth. Because nothing changes without truth. Facing your laziness doesn't mean becoming harsh or cold with yourself. It means recognizing where you're falling short, and then choosing to step up. It means noticing when you're drifting and pulling yourself back on track. It means holding yourself to a higher standard. One that says, I don't lie to myself anymore. I do what needs to be done. You know what it looks like when you're locked in. You've felt it before. You've had those days where you were focused, where you moved with purpose, where you finished what you started. That's not luck. That's not a special mood. That's you without the lies. That's you facing life head on instead of avoiding it. You've got to build more days like that. And it starts with getting rid of the stories that protect your laziness. The I'll do it later story. The I need to be in the right headspace story. The I'm too overwhelmed story. They sound reasonable, but they're just polished excuses, and you've got to stop falling for them. You don't need motivation to act. You need standards. A standard that says I follow through whether I feel like it or not. A standard that says I don't skip my work just because it's uncomfortable. A standard that says I've wasted enough time lying to myself, and I'm done with that. There's power in calling things by their real name. When you say I didn't do the work today because I chose laziness, it stings, but it's honest. And that honesty makes you uncomfortable enough to change. If you keep telling yourself comforting lies, you'll stay the same. If you tell yourself the truth, even when it hurts, you create space to grow. You already know what you need to do. You don't need another tip. You don't need another motivational quote. You need to stop protecting your laziness with soft language. You need to start seeing it for what it is, a thief. It's stealing your time. It's stealing your progress. It's stealing your confidence, and you're letting it. You were not born to be average. You weren't created to sit around wasting time, numbing yourself with distractions, drifting through each day. You have a mind that can focus, a body that can move, a heart that knows what matters. But you've got to stop waiting for it to magically happen. You have to face the part of you that keeps pulling you backwards. And when you face it, you take away its power. It's not about perfection. You will have slow days. You will feel tired. But the difference is in your honesty. When you're tired, say it, but don't pretend. Don't lie and say you didn't have time when you spent an hour doing nothing. Don't lie and say you're too busy when you know you could have done more. Your results won't come from being perfect. They'll come from being real with yourself every single day. If you want to be consistent, you have to become your own accountability. No one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to push you to face your lazy patterns. That's your job. That's your responsibility. And it starts with one simple rule. Tell yourself the truth. You owe it to your future, to your goals, to the life you say you want. You can't build it while avoiding effort. You can't build it while hiding behind fake busyness. And you definitely can't build it if you keep protecting your laziness with excuses. Decide today to stop negotiating with it. Stop entertaining it. Stop giving it space in your life. You've already lost time to it. Don't lose more. Be the one who shows up, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Be the one who faces the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Be the one who says, I'm done lying to myself. That's how you change. Not with hype, not with perfect days, but with brutal honesty, consistent effort, and the decision to face your laziness instead of defending it. You don't need to do everything today, but you do need to stop avoiding what you know needs to be done. Start there. Start now. Start with the truth, and everything else will begin to shift. Number 8. Say out loud, I'm done, and mean it. There's a moment that changes everything. Not when you think about changing, not when you talk about how tired you are, but when you finally say out loud, I'm done, not as a whisper, not as a wish, but as a decision you feel in your bones. Because until you speak it with certainty, nothing inside really shifts. You stay halfway in. You leave the door open for the same habit to walk back in. And you keep living on repeat. But when the words come out of your mouth with full conviction, when you mean every part of it, that's when the shift begins. Most people never get there. They say things like, I'll try to stop, or maybe next week, or I'll cut back. But that's not the language of someone who's done. That's the language of someone who still plans to return. If you want real change, you have to reach a point where you stop negotiating, where you stop explaining, where you stop looking for balance with a behavior that's been breaking you down. Saying I'm done is not just about words. It's about what follows. It's about finally drawing a line that you don't cross anymore. You've done enough thinking. You've repeated the pattern enough times. You've felt the guilt, the frustration, the emptiness. And now it's time to make a decision that holds weight. A decision that closes the door behind you. A decision that says, I'm not doing this to myself anymore. There's power in saying it out loud, not to impress anyone, not to prove a point, but to declare something real to yourself. Because when you say it and you mean it, your brain hears it, your body hears it. You become responsible for it. You feel the seriousness of that moment. And that seriousness is exactly what most people are missing. They keep things casual, they keep things quiet, but quiet decisions don't build a strong life. Loud ones do. Ones you own, ones you don't back down from. You have to be the one who says, I'm done with this version of me. Not because someone else told you, not because you saw a quote, but because you're tired of living under your potential. You're tired of waking up feeling disappointed. You're tired of losing time to something that gives you nothing back. That's when the fire starts to burn. That's when the energy shifts. That's when you stop being a prisoner to your own behavior. The reason that moment is powerful is because it's honest. For the first time, you stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending the habit is harmless. You stop acting like you'll fix it later. And you say clearly and boldly, this ends now. That honesty shakes you. It wakes you up. It puts pressure on your future. And that pressure is what helps you stay on track when the old urges return. Because they will. But this time, you'll have something stronger than willpower. You'll have a decision. You've got to remember how much this habit has taken from you. Not just the obvious things like time or health, but the quiet things. Your drive, your sharpness, your confidence, your pride. Those are things you can't afford to keep losing. When you say I'm done, you're not just rejecting a habit. You're reclaiming everything it's stolen. You're taking your life back one choice at a time. And that starts by speaking the truth out loud. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait until you're in the mood. That moment never comes. What comes is more delay, more excuses, more damage. And one day you'll look back and realize how many days you gave away because you didn't speak up to yourself. You didn't declare your own freedom. Don't let that happen again. Take control now. Say it today. Say it like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. You have to mean it. Not just say it, not just hope. You have to stand behind the words. That means removing the temptations. That means changing the routine. That means cutting the ties that keep dragging you back. This isn't about hoping things will work out. It's about committing to a path you know you need to walk, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. You'll be tested. There will be moments when the habit calls you back, when it tries to convince you that one more time won't matter, when your old self shows up with a familiar voice and offers comfort. That's when the decision matters most. That's when you remind yourself what you said. I'm done. Not when it's easy, when it's tempting, when it's loud, when everything in you wants to go back. That's when your new identity is built. You're not weak for falling into the habit. You're not broken, but you are responsible now. You've said the words, you've drawn the line. And from this moment forward, everything you do either confirms that decision or denies it. That's what builds discipline, not motivation, not emotion, but follow through. Choosing to match your actions with your words. Choosing to back yourself every day. You might fail, you might slip, but you don't quit. You go back to that moment. You remind yourself of the promise you made. You say it again, and you keep moving forward. Because the person who says I'm done and means it doesn't expect perfection, they expect progress. They expect resistance, but they don't back down. Speak it with force. Say it with clarity. Look yourself in the mirror and deliver the words like you mean business. I'm done living small. I'm done choosing comfort over growth. I'm done giving away my peace. I'm done feeding what weakens me. That's your new standard. Not just a statement, but a standard. And once that standard is set, you don't lower it. Others might not understand it. They don't have to. This decision is not for them, it's for you. For the version of you that's been waiting to lead, for the future you keep saying you want, for the peace you keep searching for. It starts here with one sentence, spoken with conviction, followed by action, built with consistency. Your past doesn't define you. Your habits don't own you. Your mistakes are not your destiny. What defines you is what you do now, who you choose to become, what you're willing to walk away from so you can finally walk into something better. But it won't happen until you make it clear, until you open your mouth and say the words that change your direction. Say it loud enough that your old patterns hear you. Say it strong enough that you can't take it back. Say it and then become the person who lives by it. Because that version of you is ready. That version of you is within reach. But it only appears when you stop entertaining the past and start demanding more from yourself. So say it, I'm done, and mean every word. Then go prove it, every single day. Number 9, kill the excuses that protect your worst behavior. Excuses don't come out of nowhere. They're built over time, quietly, repeatedly, until they start sounding like truth. You don't even realize when it happens. You say something like, I'm tired, or it's just not the right time, or at least I'm trying, and you think you're being honest, but you're not. You're hiding. You're defending the part of yourself that doesn't want to change. You're protecting your worst behavior with words that sound reasonable. That's what makes excuses dangerous. They feel logical, but they keep you stuck. If you're serious about growing, you've got to kill those excuses. Not manage them, not soften them, kill them. You can't break a habit while keeping the stories that allow it. Every time you say, this is just who I am, or I've tried before and it didn't work, or it's not that bad, you're giving your weaker self the power to keep leading. And if that part of you keeps leading, you'll keep getting the same results. The excuses are not harmless, they're walls. They block action, they block effort, they block ownership. And if you don't tear them down, they will trap you for years. The worst part is that you start to believe them. You hear yourself repeat the same justifications so often that they become part of your identity. I'm not a morning person. I've always been this way. I don't have time. These aren't facts, they're defenses. They're words you've used to protect patterns that are keeping you average. That's the truth. And if you're not willing to confront those words, you'll stay exactly where you are. The problem isn't the habit. The problem is the belief that you can't live without it. You can't keep making room for the behavior that's draining your potential. And every excuse you make is space you're giving away. Space that could have been filled with discipline, with clarity, with real change, but instead it's cluttered with stories. Stories that keep you feeling stuck. And what's worse, they make you feel justified in staying there. That's why you have to stop being gentle with your own lies. You have to expose them, bring them into the open. Look at what you say to yourself when you don't follow through. What are your go-to lines? At least I'm not as bad as I used to be. I'll start again Monday. These are escape hatches. And as long as you keep using them, you'll never be forced to face your behavior for what it really is. If you want change, you've got to stop negotiating with weakness. You can't build strength while making excuses for your worst habits. You have to be willing to say, that's not acceptable anymore, and then live by that. That's how self-respect is built. Not by talking about standards, but by enforcing them. By refusing to allow excuses to stand in the way of progress. Most people never do this because it's uncomfortable. It feels harsh. It feels cold. But what's harsher, telling yourself the truth now or living with regret later? The pain of discipline is real, but it's temporary. The pain of excuses is quiet, but it lasts. It stays in your decisions, in your missed opportunities, in the moments you know you could have done better and didn't. You don't need more motivation. You need to stop lying to yourself. You need to cut off the false comfort that excuses provide. They're not protecting you. They're holding you hostage. Every time you say, I had a long day, and let that be the reason you avoid your goals, you teach your brain that comfort is more important than growth. And the more you repeat that, the more automatic it becomes. There's only one way to stop it. You have to decide that you're not available for your own excuses anymore, that when they show up, you'll call them out, not argue with them, not entertain them, just shut them down. You do that by getting clear on what they sound like. You write them down, you read them back. You say, this is what I say when I'm trying to escape responsibility, and then you replace it. You create new language. You speak the truth instead. I'm tired becomes I still have time to do something useful. I'll start later becomes this matters now. I've always been like this becomes I'm capable of being different. It's not about tricking yourself. It's about building a new standard of honesty, because the more honest you are, the less tolerance you have for your old behavior. You won't feel comfortable staying the same. You'll start craving the discomfort of growth more than the comfort of excuses. This won't happen overnight. The habit of excuse making has been there for years. It's wired into your reactions. But every time you interrupt it, you weaken it. And over time, you'll notice it starts to fade. You'll stop falling back on old lines. You'll start noticing them as they show up. That awareness is power. That's how you gain leverage over your own behavior. That's how you become someone who doesn't let weakness speak for them anymore. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. Real about how your excuses are shaping your life. Real about what they've cost you. Real about how much longer you're willing to live under them. And if the answer is no more, then act like it. Make decisions that reflect that standard. Show up even when you don't feel like it. Follow through even when it's inconvenient. Speak the truth even when it stings. Because the version of you that succeeds, the one you respect, the one you say you want to become, they don't run behind excuses. They stand behind choices. That version of you doesn't need permission. They don't need perfect conditions. They need conviction. And conviction comes when you finally get tired of your own nonsense. Say it to yourself now. I don't need these excuses anymore. Then go prove it. Not by trying harder, but by refusing to lie to yourself again. That's how transformation starts. Not with hype, not with emotion, with truth. And once you commit to living in that truth, your excuses lose their power. This is your turning point. Not because you discovered something new, but because you're done repeating what hasn't worked. You're done hiding behind words that don't move you forward. You're done feeding the weakness that wants to keep you quiet, small, passive. From now on, every time an excuse shows up, you kill it. You replace it. You act in spite of it, because the person you want to become is waiting for the moment you stop protecting the part of you that's holding you back. That moment is now. Kill the excuses and step into the strength that's been waiting to take its place. Number 10. Make today the last time you give in. There's a moment where enough really has to mean enough. Not next week. Not after one more slip. Not when it gets easier. Right now, today. This has to be the day where you say, this is the last time I give in to this. Because if you don't draw the line keeps moving. You keep finding reasons to wait, to delay, to justify one more time. But that one more time is what's killing your discipline. That one more time is what's stealing your potential in pieces. You felt the disappointment before. That moment after you give in, when everything you told yourself you wouldn't do, happens again. And you don't feel free. You don't feel better. You feel stuck, guilty, drained. You promise you'll stop. You tell yourself this was the last time. But deep down, you know the pattern. You've said that before, and that's the problem. Words without action become lies. Promises without change lose meaning. That's why today can't be another temporary decision. It has to be the final one. You've lived enough days surrendering to that habit. You've handed over enough of your time, your clarity, your self-respect. And for what? A few moments of comfort? A short-term escape? A quick way to feel okay? It's not worth it anymore. You know that. You've always known. But knowing isn't enough. Thinking about it won't change it. Wishing won't fix it. You have to act. You have to make today different. Not better, different. Different in a way that draws a hard stop, a full reset. It's not about perfection. You're human. But if you want to live with strength, you can't keep feeding weakness. That's the truth. There's no middle ground anymore. You either continue giving your energy to a behavior that's breaking you, or you stop. And stopping doesn't mean trying. It means deciding, fully, without leaving the door cracked open. Because if there's an opening, your old self will find it. That voice that says, just one more time, is waiting for permission. Don't give it any. This isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about choosing your future over your impulses. It's about valuing your peace more than your urge. It's about making your word mean something again. You don't need to punish yourself for the past. You need to protect your future. You do that by making today the last time you choose the thing that's been holding you back. Not by force, but by resolve. You already know what it costs you. You've felt it in your energy. You've seen it in your results. You've watched it take the best of your time. What else do you need to see before you act? Do you want to wait until it gets worse? Until it affects more areas of your life? You're not weak. You're just stuck in a loop. But every loop has a break point. This is yours. Right here, right now, today. Your future is shaped by what you tolerate. And if you keep tolerating what's making you smaller, you'll keep shrinking. You'll wake up in a few months and wonder how you drifted so far. But if you stop now, If you interrupt the cycle today, everything begins to shift, not because the habit disappears, but because your mindset does. You stop thinking like a person who reacts. You start thinking like a person who leads themselves, leads their day, leads their emotions. The truth is, you can end it now. You don't need another lesson. You don't need to hit a lower rock bottom. You don't need more failure to convince you. You've seen enough. You've lived through the consequences. You've sat in the regret. Now turn it into power. Turn it into resolve. Turn it into a moment you never forget. Because this time, you're not just saying it, you're proving it. That means changing the way you respond to triggers. That means removing the option altogether. That means rewriting your behavior, not just thinking differently. If you always stop at awareness and never take action, you stay stuck in self-reflection without self-direction. And you don't grow by understanding alone. You grow by choosing something better and backing it up with real action. There's no perfect time to quit a bad habit. There's no ideal setting to change your life. All you have is right now. And if you don't act now, the cycle continues. If you do, you start building momentum. The kind of momentum that doesn't just carry you through today, it builds a new standard for tomorrow. That's the power of choosing to stop. You take back control of how your days unfold. You stop being a prisoner to what you used to tolerate. There will be resistance. That voice in your head will try to pull you back. It will say you're overreacting, that it's not that serious, that you've already messed up too much. Don't listen. That voice is the old you trying to survive. Let it die today. Let this be the last day you give it power. Speak to it with finality. Tell it, you don't run the show anymore, and then show it with your behavior. You owe yourself a new path, one that's built on follow-through, not frustration, one that's guided by standards, not feelings, one that honors your potential instead of wasting it on things that make you feel weaker. That path starts the moment you say no more, not out of fear, but out of purpose, out of clarity, out of respect for the person you're becoming. You don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to make it public. This is between you and the part of you that knows you're capable of more. And that part of you is tired of waiting. It's tired of watching you settle. It's tired of seeing you hand over your strength to a behavior that never brings anything good. It's time to end the cycle. Not someday, today. You don't need to be perfect from this moment forward. You just need to make this moment matter. Decide that today is the last time you make the same excuse, the last time you choose the easy escape, the last time you let a habit dictate your worth. You're not here to keep repeating yourself. You're here to evolve, and that evolution starts with one clear, firm, final decision. You've waited long enough. You've thought about changing for too long. Now is the moment to act. Make today the last time you give in, and let every choice after today reflect the person you're finally ready to become, not with pressure, with ownership, not with fear, with conviction, not with hope, with action. Because action is the only thing that separates the life you want from the one you've been stuck in. This is the line. This is the moment. Don't cross it again. Make today the last time, and prove it every single day after this one. If you're serious about changing your life, it starts with breaking the habits that keep you stuck. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for another setback. You've seen what these habits are doing to you mentally, emotionally, and physically. Now is the time to act. Use what you learned today and apply it immediately. One decision, one change, that's all it takes to shift your direction. You don't need to be perfect, just consistent. Break the habit before it breaks your future. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and most importantly, take control before it's too late. Your next chapter begins now.